Welcome to the Hello Sunday podcast with me, Nikki Hayden. This is the podcast that discusses everything self-development, spirituality and sobriety. And it wouldn't be me without a little sprinkling of humour. Whether you are just starting out on your journey of self-development or have been exploring these topics for years, are completely alcohol-free or just curious about living a more sober lifestyle, this is the podcast for you. Each week, I'll be exploring topics in both solo episodes and with some amazing guest experts. So if you like what you hear, then please subscribe, rate and review. So with that said, let's dive into today's episode. Hello, welcome back to another episode of Hello Sunday. I hope you're all amazing. I hope you are, I was going to say enjoying the sunshine. It's kind of been a bit cloudy the last few days in the UK, but spring is definitely hotting up. Summer is on its way. We say that actually, but I'm not sure. Oh, do we only get July and August now as summer? Fingers crossed that September also stays warm, because I do feel like we've been a little hard done by so far this year. But how is it June, guys? Honestly, I know last week's episode was also June, but because I'd recorded that the week before with the wonderful Olivia Farrelly, if you've not listened to that episode, do go back and listen. It was a really good one, and Olivia's just fab. Just her voice I could listen to all day. She's so wise. She's got such great story and experiences with sobriety. But I recorded that at the end of May, so it didn't feel, I don't know, it didn't feel like the middle of the year then. It still felt like we've got a while to go. But genuinely, it's June, and it's not just June, it's into June now. Like, we are into the 6th month of the year. So if you made goals at the start of the year, it's a really good time to look back on them and I guess just kind of assess where you're at, make sure that they still resonate and align, and if they don't, make new ones. There might be changes in your life that mean that things are no longer what you want or what you're striving for. So yeah, it's a really good time to just do that reflection and revision ready for the second half of the year. I still can't believe that I'm saying second half of the year. It's fucking wild that we are here already. But we are. What I wanted to chat through today was limiting beliefs. Now, limiting beliefs are something that I would imagine you've probably heard of. I'd imagine that whether it's just been on social media or if you are into reading self-development books, listening to the self-development podcasts, that you'll have heard this phrase bandied about. And some of you may be really familiar with what limiting beliefs are and how to understand them and conquer them. But I'd say more people that I speak to at the moment than not probably aren't. It's not that they don't know what they are, but they don't necessarily know what theirs are. And therefore, like, being aware of something is one thing, but actually understanding how to take that into the context of your life and make it relevant to you and act on it and do something with that knowledge, that's where the magic happens. That's where everything starts to change. Because just knowing something is, I mean, they say knowledge is power, but actually knowledge is just knowledge. You have to do something with that knowledge. You have to take action, and you have to be willing to make the changes based on that knowledge for things to happen in your life and things to change. So limiting beliefs are actually really, I guess they're very, very important when it comes to goal setting and goal achieving. Because let's say you look back at your goals from the start of the year, if you made them, and one of those goals was you wanted to get a promotion at work. And you look back and you think, yeah, I've not actually done anything about that. I've not had the conversation. I've not done a single thing. Now, it may just be that life got in the way and you've been busy. Maybe your circumstances changed maybe things, completely did a 180 and you just haven't had an opportunity. But if that isn't the case, and actually you have had the opportunity, there's something that's getting in your way of doing that. And unless it's been a major change within your job that means that it wasn't appropriate to push for promotion, there's a very, very good chance that it's your mindset and your limiting beliefs that are getting in the way of you pushing for and going for that promotion. Likewise, let's say that one of your goals at the start of the year was to get fit and get in shape. And again, you've not done anything about it, not changed your habits at all. Unless you've been injured or laid up in a hospital bed or in a deep, grieving or, something major that is a huge focus. Unless those things have happened, the chances are you've just not bothered to make the effort and make the habits. Now, it could be that your why isn't strong enough. It could be that you've put it down as something that you want to do, but actually you don't really connect with it. But if you do really connect with it and it is something that you want and you've got a really strong why, then there's something in the way that is stopping you from achieving that or from doing that. And that normally is a limiting beliefs. So at their core, limiting beliefs are essentially just beliefs that we hold about ourselves or the world around us, stories that we tell ourselves that, like the name suggests, limit us. And in this episode, we're specifically going to talk about false beliefs that we hold about ourselves that prevent us from pursuing our goals or desires, being successful, restrict us from fulfilling our potential and, basically put limitations on us. We can sometimes hold beliefs about the world that may also stop us from doing that. So if you've been burned or cheated on, or you feel that you've been unfairly treated, you could hold the belief that life's unfair or that certain people get ahead. But it's only when that stops you from fulfilling your potential that it becomes a limiting belief that you've placed on yourself. So for the purpose of this episode, we're going to be referring to the beliefs that you hold about yourself that stop you from fulfilling your purpose. Now, a lot of the time, these beliefs are completely subconscious. You may not even be aware that you think them or that you hold that belief. So some popular or some common, I should say, beliefs that might be holding you back might be, I can only earn X amount. I'm in a salaried job, there's a glass ceiling, and so therefore I can only earn X amount of money. Or it might be, I'm too old now to start a business or join the gym or have children. Or it might be, I've not got the time to do that. Or a really, really common one, and if you ever start a sentence with this, then it's 100% a limiting belief, unless it is a physical impossibility, like changing ethnicity or age or becoming somebody physically that is impossible. Then if you start a sentence with, I could never, so, I could never start a business, I could never be that rich, I could never move abroad. They are limiting beliefs. That is a limiting belief that you are putting on yourself. That is a story that you're making up about yourself and your circumstances that mean that you won't fulfill or achieve that or won't be able to do that. And that's literally all it is. It's a belief. It's a story. And actually calling them beliefs, sometimes my preference is to call them stories, because whilst the phrase that we hear most banded around is limiting beliefs, and yes, it is a belief, people sometimes confuse the word belief with something that is true. Whereas a story, we all understand a story as something that could be fact or fiction. And in this instance, it's fiction. For those of you that are regular listeners to the show, or maybe you know me personally, you won't have been able to get away without hearing me talk about Simprove. Simprove is a scientifically backed, water-based probiotic drink. You drink it daily and it has been scientifically proven to help with things like bloating, IBS symptoms, pain. It was actually a dietitian friend of mine that introduced it to me last year, and I honestly wouldn't be without it now. It's helped with my energy, with my bloating, it's helped with my immune system, and also things like my skin. The list is honestly endless. Now, I have got a code for you. So if you'd like to try Simprove, you can get 50%, that's a massive 50% off your first 3 month subscription by going on to simprove.com and putting in the code Nikki50. That's NIKKI50, or clicking the link in the show notes. So how do we identify these beliefs? It's all very well knowing that we have them, and everybody has them, even the most elite athletes and the most successful businessmen in the world. Business people, sorry, not businessmen, business women, men, even Donald Trump and even Richard Branson and even Muhammad Ali have held these beliefs. Even the most narcissistic person out there will at some point have had imposter syndrome or syndrome or held a belief about themselves that has stopped them from doing something. So how do we identify them? How do we look at where they're coming from, what's holding us back? Because that's really what we want to understand, isn't it? There's no point in just knowing that we've got them. We need to really identify them and understand where have they come from and how do we change them. So I would always say it's easier to identify these in other people. If you listen to those close to you talking, so I don't know, whether it's your friends or work colleagues, your family, or you might hear people talk on TV shows that you watch or podcasts that you listen to. You can normally pick up and hear when they are telling themselves a story or saying something that you could identify as a limiting belief. So I'll give you an example. And actually, it's a really interesting game to play, because when I was at the first retreat that I ever went on in Bali back in 2018, we played a game where for the entire retreat, if somebody was caught talking about themselves and they were telling themselves a story, or they were saying something that came across as a limiting belief, we would intercept, and we all gave each other permission to do this, and say, is that true though? So for instance, quite a lot of us at that point wanted to stop our 9 to 5s, come away from the corporate rat race and start our own businesses. And there was quite a lot of chat about this, because some of the girls on that retreat were already in business. Some of them were in businesses that we wanted to be in. So I know one of my friends, Becca, who was on one of the first episodes of this podcast, actually, I think she was one of the first guests. She wanted to launch a digital marketing business and coach others in digital marketing and how to create their own businesses. And one of the other girls on the retreat was already in business doing that. She was a mentor, and she did business and digital, and they were chatting, and one said to the other, I think Becca said to the other girl something like, I don't know though, I don't think I'd ever make as much money as I do in my corporate job. And we stopped her and we're like, is that true though? What evidence do you have to support that? Is it true that you will never make as much money? And actually, it's not true. It was a load of bollocks, because she's since started a business and makes way more. And there was times where people would say things like, I love your shorts, but I could never wear those. Is that true though? So all through the week retreat, we were spotting in each other where we were telling each other stories, where we were telling ourselves, stories, and where those limiting beliefs were coming out. So trying to spot when other people are talking like that will enable you to spot it in yourself a lot more. Now, I'm not suggesting that you go up to strangers whose conversations you overhear and intercept with. Is that true, though? I have actually done it in a work capacity. So I've stopped candidates predominantly when they've spoken about themselves and said, "Oh, I'm not looking for a massive increase because I don't think I'd get an increase at the moment." I'm like, not necessarily true, but let's reflect on that, as we go through the search. So I wouldn't suggest doing this to random people, but certainly in your close social circles, your family, maybe even your colleagues, your peer group with your colleagues, if you've got that sort of relationship, start questioning that in people, because it does allow you to hear it in yourself when you then say things or you then articulate that. Now, it's a lot harder to catch your own thoughts and to really become a master at, I guess, analysing your own thinking, because it's your thinking and a lot of it is subconscious. So the way then that we can identify beliefs about ourselves when we're not verbalising them or we're not saying them to someone else is think about the areas in your life where maybe you aren't doing as well, or you have definitely got goals that you want to hit. Maybe they're goals that have been recurring year after year. Maybe it's something that you just feel like you're not getting anywhere with, or you've been held back from putting in that action. And be honest with yourself. Like, you're only kind of doing yourself a disservice by not being honest with yourself when you do this. No one needs to see it. You don't need to tell anyone about it if you don't want to. But let's, for instance, take the job promotion as an example. Let's say for the last 2 years you've wanted to get promoted at work and you've not actually done anything about it. You've not told your manager that you want to. You've not gone for a promotion. You've not put your name in the hat when anything's come up. You've just stayed at the same level doing the same thing, because let's be honest, that's comfortable. You might be earning the level that you need to have the life that you want, or to be, reasonably comfortable. So let's just use that as an example. Write down on a piece of paper the thing that you want, or the area that you know that you're not kind of hitting your goals in. And within that, have a think about, like, why do you feel stuck? Why do you feel unfulfilled? Is it the earning potential? Is it you want the job title? Is it that you want the respect from other people in the business, seeing you as more senior? What is it exactly that you really want at the heart of it? Do you just want to challenge yourself a bit more? So get really clear on what it is that you want, because just saying promotion is quite a wide area. It's like saying earn more or get fit. Like, what is the actual specific goal that you want? And then write down why you think you're not there yet. Be really, really honest with yourself. So it could be, I'm scared of putting myself out there to get rejected. And actually, fear of failure and fear of rejection are huge reasons why we hold ourselves back. Like, that's probably one of the number one reasons why people don't put themselves out there, or they don't push for the next level. So ask yourself, what is it? Is it that I'm scared of being rejected or failure? Is it that I don't think that I actually have the skills to do the next job up? Is it that there is no next job up, so they'd need to create something and you just don't feel good enough for them to do that? What is it at the heart of it that is stopping you from doing that is stopping you from putting yourself out there and trying to get to that next level? And keep asking why. Keep asking why. Keep asking why. Like, every single time that you come to a conclusion, question that as well. So if it was the job promotion and you wanted it because you wanted to challenge yourself for the next level, why were you not putting yourself forward? It might be that you, as I've just mentioned, just are scared of being rejected, scared of them saying no to you. Why do you think they might say no to you? Because you don't feel like you've got the experience and the skills for the next level. Why do you not think you've got the experience and the skills? Because it might be that you have seen other people managing things in what you think is a better way, or you haven't learned a certain tech platform, or it could be a number of things. Obviously, this will be very, very personal to you and to your job, but keep questioning why, and then you will finally get to a place where, you know, like when you get that pit of your stomach feeling and just that knowing of, that's it, that's why. It's very, very difficult to lie to ourselves, and getting to a point where you're like, that's it, will then enable you to understand what is that limiting belief holding you back. And it's normally something like fear of failure, not good enough, don't think that you're skilled enough. There's a whole host of things that we tell ourselves that are normally absolute bollocks. And in getting to that, you can then try to understand, well, where has this come from? So I'll give you an example of one of mine. One of my limiting beliefs when I was a bit younger than I am now, I've definitely flipped this on its head since I've learnt about all this stuff. But one of my beliefs that I had about myself was that I shouldn't show off like my tummy area. I always used to wear like high-waisted things, and that basically I'd got like a bit of a fat tummy, which is ridiculous because if you know me, you know that I've always been like, my natural stature is like tall and slim. I'm not somebody that carries a lot of weight. Yeah, sure, you know, we all have holiday weight following Christmas and going on holidays, but generally speaking, like, I'm quite a slim person. And I'd always buy high-waisted stuff. I would never wear high-waisted skirts. As in, like, you know, those pencil skirts where they really show off your lower tummy. And I planned every single outfit around hiding my tummy. And I remember when I did this, I actually did it on a retreat in Ibiza. And we were talking about body image, and we were talking about beliefs that we hold about our bodies and like our least favourite part of our bodies. And I remember thinking like, oh yeah, it's my tummy, it's my tummy. And when I said it to the group, they were all like, what? Like, literally their faces were like, what are you on about? Like, this is crazy talk. And I thought about it and analysed it. And actually where it had come from, there was two people in my life that had given me this belief. And I'm sure neither of them meant to do it maliciously. The one definitely didn't. So when I'd moved to Holland, when I was in my early 30s, I moved to Holland for a relationship. I was seeing a guy from there, and we were watching I don't know whether it was the Sex and the City movie or whether it was the Sex and the City like series. And there's a scene in it where Samantha's got a picture of her like in an absolute heyday, you know, like looking absolutely phenomenal on the wall in her hallway. And the takeout guy comes to deliver some food, and he like looks at the picture of her and is like, wow. And then he looks down at her and she's got like a bit of a tummy, a bit of a podge. It's hanging out, and he kind of like looks and gives her the food and walks away. And I think there's a comment made, I can't remember exactly, but the guy that I was seeing at the time made a comment that was like, oh, she's got a little podge like you. And it was one phrase, one sentence, and it absolutely smashed my confidence about my body. And up until then, I'd not really had like any issues. And then on returning to the UK, I went to my nephew's birthday party. I think he was 3 or 4, so this was a few years ago now. And I wore a pencil skirt that was a little bit less kind of thick and stretchy than I thought it was. It was quite soft material, and I didn't realise. But I loved this skirt, and I put it on. And my nan made a comment that I looked pregnant. And again, it just reinforced that belief. And so from then on in, I just had the biggest limiting belief that I couldn't wear these types of clothes. I shouldn't wear these types of clothes. That I basically was carrying weight around my stomach. And it actually didn't come from anything that I really believed about myself. It came from two people in my life saying flippant remarks, flippant comments that absolutely just changed my thinking. It also happened with when I joined the last company that I was at before I started my own business, somebody that I used to work with, one of my directors, who was a referee of mine, amazing, amazing lady, absolutely loved the bones of her, had commented to my new bosses that whilst I was an absolutely incredible worker and so diligent and, amazing at my job, that developing business, like bringing in new business, wasn't a strength of mine. Now, I think in hindsight, she'd just done it because she just said that to kind of counteract the fact that she'd basically blown smoke up my arse in the reference. Because naturally, you don't want somebody just saying all good stuff, because not everybody's great at everything. But when they told me that, I carried that. And when I set up my own business, I have held that belief for such a long time that I'm not good at bringing in clients and business development. And it did really affect me. I've had to work really hard to try and let that go. So it can come from people in your life. It can come from like society. So for instance, if you think you're too old to have children, or you are, over the age of 30 and you're not with someone and there's a pressure from society, it could be that you were born into a religious family and that they have told you what is good and what is bad. So, there's certain things that you think you can and can't do because of that. It could be that your social circle has certain beliefs. So maybe maybe you want to start your own side hustle, but they're always taking the piss out of or mocking influencers, or, they're very small-minded in terms of none of them really travel, and you want to go out and see the world and you feel like you can't because of that kind of limiting belief that they've given you. A lot of the time we are using these limiting beliefs as an excuse because we're scared of failure. We're scared of rejection, we're scared of failure, and we're protecting ourselves. I mean, if you think about it like that, it's actually quite cute that as people, we try and protect ourselves. It's like, if you think about like a really small, like 5 or 6 year old version of you, just being like, oh no, don't do that. You might get rejected, or it might not work. It's like, oh, that's really cute. But at some point, you have to put that little person to one side and say, it's okay. Like, we can try hard things and we can put ourselves out there. And if I do get rejected or it doesn't work, there are no failures in life. It's just learnings and lessons and things that we can take into the next experience when we try again. I could have quite easily said after my first marriage broke down, all men are cheaters and all men are bastards and that nobody will ever treat me well again. But I wouldn't be happily married to the most incredible man that I've ever met if that was my belief. And don't get me wrong, it scarred me, and it left me feeling very hurt and very kind of wary and guarded for a long, long time. But I definitely didn't hold that belief as a definite, because I was able to change it and able to challenge it. So how do we change them? How do we challenge them? Because again, it's all great being aware of them. It's all good having the knowledge of what's holding you back. But unless you change it, unless you challenge it, you're going to do fuck all, basically, aren't you? You're not going to actually get anywhere. You need to change these limiting beliefs into empowering beliefs and basically flip them on their head. So the best way that I've found to do this, and I'm sure there's loads of ways that you can, and, there's one school of thought that's like, ask people around you, ask those that love you what they love about you. Ask people around you what your best qualities are. And that's definitely something that you can utilize. But what I would say with that is, don't rely just on other people creating new beliefs for you, because it needs to come from within. Because someone can tell you something, but unless you really, really, really believe it at your core, it's not going to become a new belief. The external validation is great, but only after you've created that new empowering belief for yourself. So there's something called the tabletop exercise, which basically means that you think of the belief as a tabletop, so like the top of a table, as the name would suggest. And then the legs under the table are what support that belief. So the more legs that the table has, the more likely it is to be sturdy. If it's just got one leg, probably going to fall over. If it's got 4 legs, it's probably going to stay up. If you've got 16 legs under there, the chances of one of those legs breaking and the whole thing falling over is very, very slim. The more legs that the table has got, the stronger it will be. So the more supporting evidence you find, the stronger the belief will be. And to the contrary, the more evidence that you take away, or the more that you chip away at that belief, the more wobbly it becomes and the less likely it is to remain stable. So take one of the beliefs that you've uncovered about yourself by doing that why questioning exercise. So let's, for instance, take the job promotion as a continued example. What is the evidence to the contrary that actually you can put forward to yourself for an empowering belief about why you should go for that promotion? So if your limiting belief was, I'm not good enough and I'm not experienced enough, what are the things that you can find to evidence to the contrary? Have you had amazing client testimonials? Have you had a promotion in the past? Maybe you are in sales and you've topped the leaderboard or you've hit your target. Maybe you got this job following being at another company and you were headhunted and they saw your potential then. There could be so many reasons why that belief is rubbish. Now, just finding 5 or 10 reasons isn't going to be enough to solidify this. You need to keep going. And actually, when we did this exercise in the Bali retreat that I was telling you about at the Bali retreat, we had to find 50 pieces of supporting evidence to tell ourselves that, to the contrary, to support the empowering belief. So if the empowering belief is I am good enough and I am experienced enough, you need to find 50 pieces of evidence towards that. Now that could be, I had a client testimonial from this person, I had a client testimonial from this person, this colleague commended me, I hit my targets in this month, I did. It doesn't have to just be, I've got great client testimonials. Break it down, really think about it. This is a little bit like when you do gratitude and you have to really feel it. There's no point just saying I'm grateful for the air that I breathe and my car and my husband. You have to break that down into I'm grateful for the air that I breathe, because without it, I wouldn't be alive. And I'm so grateful that it is free and all around us and not polluted. And I'm so grateful for my car, because without it I would have no freedom. I can see friends and family, I can be there to support those around me, I can have whatever it is, freedom, explore, all of the above. You have to really feel it. So when you're looking for evidence to support your empowering belief, you need to really feel that, yeah, I had that client testimonial, and breathe it back, look at this stuff. Or, yeah, people have said amazing things about me on social media. Say, I don't know, you're in beauty or aesthetics and you've had incredible testimonials and people returning as repeat customers, and you've not been doing it for very long, but actually you've already got, full diary. And this is evidence to show that you are smashing it. And that little voice in your head is just trying to keep you small and keep you comfortable. But actually, it's not protecting you. It's just holding you back. So identify where the belief has come from, because that's really interesting in understanding that it's often not from you personally. It's often not an experience that you've had where it's come directly from you. It's normally somebody's told you it, or it's come from society, or it's come from your family or your upbringing or a religion. And like I say, it's always protection. The reason why my nan told me I look pregnant is probably just because she thought it, because she's quite old and speaks her mind and doesn't really have much diplomacy, God bless her. But the reason that my ex said that was clearly because it was an insecurity of his. Like, he wasn't the most buff guy, he was quite skinny, and I think he felt quite insecure in himself. So in saying that to me, it made him feel a little bit better about the fact that, I didn't feel as great about myself in that moment, which, I don't need to say to you, is a really awful way to be and really awful thing to do. And thank God I'm not in that relationship now. But it was a control thing, very much a control thing. So look at how can you create an empowering belief? What is the opposite of what you're thinking, and create the supporting evidence for that. Once you've got that empowering belief, visualize, how would it feel when I get this? So if it's a promotion, think about going into your boss's office or HR and saying to them you feel ready for the next step, and asking them to create a path for you to do that. What is it that I need to do? What do I need to evidence? How do I need to go about getting to that next step? And put in place the steps with them to do that. Visualize what it will feel like being in that role. And yeah, you'll probably feel like an imposter at first, but you wouldn't have got there if they didn't think you were capable, and if you deserved it, and if your experience warranted it. So really, really visualize. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Your brain does not know the difference between a visualization and reality. So you visualizing being in that role, in that job, in that moment, how you feel, your brain will just think that you've already done it, and you'll start acting accordingly. So really take the time to visualize it and then put it into practice. Go and do the thing. Remind yourself daily, affirm all of the things that you've been replacing those limiting beliefs with, affirm those empowering beliefs. So like every day, I am good enough, I'm ready for this next job. Or if you've been scared to go into the weight section of the gym, or scared to go into the gym because you think everyone's going to look at you and you think you're going to look silly because you don't know what you're doing. First of all, nobody pays attention to anybody at the gym. They're far too much in their own zone. But as I've said before, like, think about all the times you've been out with friends. Like, when do you remember anything that they wore? No, because you're so wrapped up in your own world. Every time that somebody thinks that it's all about them, it very, very rarely is. So replace those beliefs with, people in the gym are supportive. They're all moving towards their own goals. They are all rooting for me, and everybody started somewhere. And then the next time that you think about, I don't know whether I can go to the gym, say those things to yourself and just take the action and get in there. This is baby steps a lot of the time. You're not going to flip the switch overnight and suddenly feel like the most empowered person in the world. It takes time. But without taking the action, it's not going to happen at all. Without identifying these beliefs and evidencing, empowering beliefs to the contrary, you're not going to do it at all. So you need to take these steps, take these actions. And honestly, this is probably one of the most revolutionary things that I've ever done for myself. This is probably one of those self-development tools that whenever I do this, whenever I feel myself, and that's another thing, like, you're never going to be free of limiting beliefs, but slowly identifying them and changing them, and, new level, new devil, the next one that comes up, do this thing again with. And it's absolutely life-changing. So I hope that's been useful. I hope that you are going to go away and do that. Please do let me know how you get on. If you're struggling with identifying your limiting beliefs, then let's have a chat, or just drop me a message. I'm always willing to help, willing to share. Sometimes it takes someone else just like asking you those questions to get you there. But yeah, honestly, please take the time to go away and do this, because it will open doors and create opportunities and change things in ways that you just could never imagine. So have a fabulous week all, and I will see you all again next Sunday. Thanks for listening. You can find us on Instagram at HelloSundayPod, or you can email us on hellosundaypod@outlook.com. Have a great week.